Hey guys, it's Derek here. We're going to talk about the game news for March 8th to 14th. So, this week, probably the biggest news was that the Microsoft Bethesda merger has finally gone ahead. They've gotten approval from US and EU bodies, like I said they would. They would just get a rubber stamp on that end. Yada yada yada, something about competition, yada yada, something, whatever. So basically, Microsoft now get Bethesda, which are like normal, a lot of different IPs they have behind them. They've got Doom, they've got The Elder Scrolls, they've got Dishonored, Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, which I'm not happy about, but they've got a bunch of other stuff, Fallout, and what's the one with Mickey Rourke in it? Rogue Warrior, that piece of shit. Anyway, look that up. It's hilarious and terrible, but also hilarious. Anyway. But the bigger news, or not bigger news, I suppose, but like fallout from that is that a bunch of Bethesda games are on Game Pass right now. So here's a few of them in this thumbnail. I'm not gonna click on the image on the video, but I'll fucking click on the video. But like, yeah, tons of games coming to Game Pass. If you have it now, you have like 20 more of them. Like Doom, like Wolfenstein, Gears was there, Elder Scrolls will end up on it, I'm sure. Dishonored. Yada yada, joining the family. Now Skyrim is on Game Pass. Like, I think it already was, but anyway. Yeah, pretty good deal for anyone who's on Game Pass already, and might actually make me get it. Possibly. Some other things came out from this, and basically to say that Microsoft will words, English. Anyway, they're going to continue to support, that's the word I wanted, games that are already announced for different platforms. So Deathloop, which is currently exclusive to PlayStation, is owned by Bethesda and now owned by Microsoft. So there's a Microsoft exclusive on PlayStation. Oh my god, what is happening? The world is falling apart. But other things like Ghostwire Tokyo, which looks interesting, is also PlayStation exclusive, but now currently owned by Microsoft and so on. So basically, if it's already been announced for the platform and or it's already on the platform, like Doom, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, all of those, they'll continue to support them and allow them to be there. They're not gonna suddenly remove them from the store or anything like that. Future games, though, probably will be exclusive. I think they go on to say that future, yeah, here's it's even in the title. Future Bethesda games to be exclusive to Game Pass or platforms with Game Pass. That's a weird way to put it. Just because they have Game Pass doesn't necessarily mean they'll be on Game Pass, but they'll be on a platform that has Game Pass. Weird way to put it. This kind of helps Microsoft's whole deal, where they've been kind of pushing Game Pass more than the console necessarily. So if you can get Game Pass on the device, they can be there, right? So they're kind of pivoting to more of a subscription service kind of thing, rather than having an exclusive box that you have to buy or an actual hardware. They can just say, just download the Game Pass app and you can get the games on it or whatever. So in that way, they can have a Game Pass app on Switch, or a Game Pass app on PlayStation, or a Game Pass app on your TV or in your browser or on your PC or whatever. That's where they're going with Game Pass, and this is definitely like going to help them facilitate it. So new releases this week. I mean, there are always a lot of new releases. Just look at PC. There's a new hentai card game, I'm sure, every week, every day almost. The only one that kind of interests me is that Crash is on PS5, Xbox Series, whatever, with, you know, all new bells and whistles and things like that. Probably still gonna wait for a price drop, but it's good to see it there. Coming to Battle.net. All right. I always forget Crash is owned by fucking Activision. Anyway, maybe I won't get it. Some new trailers for some games. A lot of, again, there's always kind of like new trailers and stuff, but I'm only really highlighting the ones that sort of interest me. So this is the magnificent Trufflepigs, and despite it having an incredible title, I don't think there are I don't think there are any actual truffle pigs in the trailer. This is kind of a metal detecting game that's set in a kind of everybody's gone through the rapture sort of thing, where maybe you find something you're not supposed to find, but and then it has the kind of Firewatch thing where you have a walkie-talkie where you can talk to people, but I think it's a fairly isolationist game, like everybody's gone through the rapture, with possibly no other people in this trailer, so maybe everyone's gone to the rapture again and they forgot about you and you're busy truffling. I guess, who knows. Anyway, everybody's gone to the rapture was alright, so I'll probably give this a look. And then surprising absolutely everybody, .emu came out with a new trailer for a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge. And it's a pretty high quality like animated trailer there, but it does go into some gameplay later on. So it's very like the old school TMNT brawler, which they're good games. So happy to see that, and happy to see the best game mechanic of all time, throwing enemies at the screen so they go splat. It's always funny. Never wasn't funny. So some updates. This is a kind of PSA from Capcom to basically say we're not sending out early access emails for Resident Evil Village, so if you see one, it's a scam. So don't click on it. That's it. That's the story. Now you know. The more you know, or something. Watch Dogs Legion's online mode delayed indefinitely for PC because don't know, something's up with new GPUs and game keeps crashing. So yeah, no multiplayer for you guys, I guess. Not sure when they'll be able to fix it, but basically there are certain GPUs that are causing issues. So because of that, and I guess the GPU market or the market share for this particular GPU must be pretty high for them to say. But this isn't the first time it's been delayed. It's been delayed a couple of times, so I guess they really just have not found a way around this issue, and they're just basically going to say, don't know, we'll keep looking at it, but don't expect it like ever, really. If you see it again, it'll be a big shock for everybody. On to everybody's favorite segment, yours and mine, industry bullshit. Okay. So some news coming out earlier this week, or rumors rather, that were later confirmed, was that some EA either partners or employees or something were selling FIFA Ultimate Team cards, which are, if you're not familiar with, these are kind of collectibles that you can earn in-game or buy through like card packs, if you like the old sticker packs kind of deal, but like a virtual one, and you get different players and things like that. So you can get like Player of the Year cards, which are like who was the best player that year, like a whole team of them, and they have really cool stats. Or you can get FIFA icons, which are like old players, yada yada. I don't know really football all that well, but I just thought it was just par for the course for EA, really. But basically EA came out to say that we don't condone this, yada yada yada. This creates an unfair balance in games and competitions, despite us actually causing that ourselves. But still, some other news about people paying for it. There were like different screen grabs from like WhatsApp messages and stuff. People going for like 750, $2,000 for some of them. Some of them get sold in packs. $1,000 in some places. I also thought this Twitter handle was funny because I read it as Fuda Arcade, which is a very, very different Twitter account. It's really Foot Arcade. Okay. Anyway, I still thought it was funny. Basically, the way they do it is they can assign the card directly to your PlayStation or EA ID, which would suggest that they would have had to have some kind of access to EA's backend to do it, which is why people think it was an employee or a partner of some kind. This could basically say that they're like really rare cards. Thorough investigation is underway. Later on, they concluded their investigation to basically say, yeah, some shit's happening. So we have suspended giving cards to partners and things like that. So they can have like this discretionary pool of cards they give to people. Which, hey, I thought you guys wanted to balance and have this appearance of not pay to win, but you just give cards to people? Really, really good ones? as this guy puts it out, Nick with lots of numbers. Grind, trade, open, yada yada. We can't touch any of these, but you can just give them to people. That sounds fair. They were basically going on to say that we do not condone or find acceptable that the granting of purchasing player items in exchange for money, except they do. Because it's a viable way to buy them. You can buy cards through the transfer market. As who's the author of this? Wesley goes on to point out here, of course, EA does grant purchasing player items in exchange for money via loot boxes. So what they're really annoyed about is they don't want them going outside the game because EA don't get a cut that way. They're not annoyed that they were selling the cards, they're annoyed they didn't get their pound of flesh. So this goes on to where they highlight how these people were getting the cards in the first place, and it's that EA do grant a discretionary pool of cards to influencers, PR people, that kind of thing. And that's how they were getting around the system, because these people could just transfer, even though it's supposed to not be transferable. But they have basically stopped doing that, and saying that this whole transferring these cards in this way creates an unfair and unbalanced thing. But they were giving those cards away for free to these people who are influencers who play the game competitively, saying, but still somehow going to say that it was unfair and unbalanced with allowing them to sell them, but not allowing them to just have them in the first place. And again, as Wesley points out, of course, this content can be used in Ultimate Team's competitive pay-to-win multiplayer against other players online. A balance issue EA does not address in their statement. Again, you went outside our system where we control it and we get the money, not you, plebs. Wesley goes on to point out that there are EA is already facing lawsuits around Ultimate Team. Basically, there's one in California saying that, hey, this is gambling, guys. But they're going to say, no, it's surprise mechanics, not gambling. And Canada also saying that their loot boxes thing is an unlicensed gambling system, which again they're trying to say no. That cards create no advantage to. There's no advantage to purchasing Ultimate Team packs. What is wrong with me today? No advantage to purchasing Ultimate Team packs rather than earning them. Clearly, somebody seems to think there is, to the tune of like €1,000, €2,500 in some cases, and clearly you guys seem to think that there's a problem because you're stepping in to stop it, because it creates an unfair balance that you're fine with if you give the cards away to your friends but not to the customers, and your customers clearly think it's worth money, which would suggest it is gambling because there's real money involved. Oh yeah, you're in, there's some fucking trouble there for you guys. Okay, anyway, okay, so obviously we're in industry bullshit. I was gonna say some shittiness, but you know, we're in the shittiness. We're deep in the industry bullshit. Right, despite COVID emergency, Capcom made employees work at office after cyber attack, and there's an update thing which we'll get to in a minute. So in January, Japan had a kind of pretty big spike in COVID numbers, and their suggestion or request was that corporate workers try to work remotely or from home if they can. Capcom, or developers from Capcom, allege that they were forced to go into the office, and this is coming from an issue that CD Projekt Red also had, in that there was a cyber attack late last year, where Capcom can't confirm that they've been able to secure their networks and their VPN. So because of that, they can't really allow remote working in case there's leaks, security issues, personal data, that kind of thing. Not great. Guys, why can't you confirm that you have secured your server or get a new one for the time being and just work off that? The idea of a remote system was therefore completely abandoned, and it was decided, it doesn't say who decided, but it was like from on high, God decided, decreed, down to Capcom specifically. I'm gonna sneeze. Let's cut that part out. I'm gonna forget to cut this part out. Anyway, it was decided that there was no choice but to have staff come to the office. Not decided by who. Anyway, email sent to developers report states the following: we are abandoning the remote work network for the time being, and it was decided. Who decided it? There's no choice but to come to work. Capcom go back to say that yes, we did have people come in, but we took precautions. Work hours have been staggered. Everyone needs to wear a mask. If they are coming in, they need to distance from their desk. They get their temperature taken as they come in, etc. The Business Journal, where this initial report comes from, points out that Capcom don't have a union for developers. You'll find the vast majority of software developers don't have a union. That's a big problem in the industry, particularly for game developers, but software developers in general don't have one. And if they do, someone tell me so I can join us. Anyway, the company added that it could not confirm any talk about establishing or joining a union. Which is the update. It comes back to basically say that yes, we don't have a union at Capcom for our developers, but they are free to join one if they wish. Are they? Will they get fired if they do? Anyway, it's some shitty behavior from Capcom, but it does seem like they are taking the best precautions that they can, even though the real thing they should have done was actually fix their security or confirm that it is fixed. They probably should have done that part rather than force people to come in a pandemic. Similar issue here, not because of COVID though, this time because of climate change. Star Citizen developers fed up after being expected to work during devastating Texas snowstorm. So last month, big snowstorm in Texas, in the US. All the power gets knocked out because public resources have been pushed out to private industry, and that's its own story. But either way, last month, the entirety of Texas ground to a halt after a colossal winter storm pushed the state's cordoned off power grid into the bank. There's a whole big story about why the Texas power situation is fucking stupid, but anyway, it happened. A large number of companies had to shut their premises because, there's no power, there's no heat, there's no nothing. It's bad news for everybody. So a number of video game developers Texas is a pretty big video game development hub. Also had to go, except Cloud Imperium Games, who are behind Star Citizen. They didn't close. There's a later statement came out from SIG, which is Cloud, whatever it's called. What the fuck's the name? I just said it and I've forgotten it already. Cloud Imperium Games came out to say, yes, all our developers are banding together and helping each other out in this harsh time. Yada yada yada. Everyone at SIG has been very understanding and concerned about the situation the Texas team is facing, and we stayed in constant communication. Sources at the Austin studio say, no, they didn't. No, you fucking didn't. They later got communication basically to say, figure out how you can make up for lost time. Guys, we're in a fucking natural disaster right now. Could you maybe ease up on the corporate shit? Basically saying that if you're not going to work during this natural disaster, it has to count as paid time off. The expectation was clear, say the employees: be prepared to work through a natural disaster or make up for it later at the cost of off hours or vacation time. So take your vacation, if you're not going to work during your natural disaster where your house might be flooding or you have no heat or no food, no water, whatever. No, keep working on the video game that's never coming out. In response to employees, yada 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 yada. Time off would require use of paid time off, and work would continue in some capacity despite a statewide emergency. Not good. Others did not have any paid time off to spare, so what did they have to do? They have to work on their off hours, basically. They have to work on the weekends, on their time away, and they won't get paid for it. Shitheads. In response to further expressions of concern, we were told to work directly with our managers for help. Except managers were facing the same crisis as the rest of us. Some lacked any method of communication for days. Can't charge your phone, phones don't work, networks are all down, how am I supposed to communicate with my manager about this issue if I can't actually communicate with them? Developers feeling pressure to work. Just felt like I had to do it, even though most people weren't talking those days because they couldn't. Phones didn't work, etc. No internet. Everyone was just focusing on surviving. Head leadership for the company never appeared to acknowledge that we even faced a natural disaster and seemed to completely neglect to communicate our situation to other studios. So, Cloud Imperium have other studios across the US. I think they have a few international studios as well, and those studios weren't told that the Austin studio might have been in trouble, despite myself in Ireland knowing about the fucking issue in Texas. You would think everyone would know what the hell was going on. It was fobbed off as basically saying, oh, they just want a snow day. Why should we just give them a snow day? Guys, it's just absolute shits. Anyway, there was a response basically from the upper management in SIG to say that we weren't aware that the situation in Austin was as bad as it was. How could you possibly not? Like, they were telling you. The ones that could still communicate were telling you how bad it was. You knew. Anyway, this is a quote from one of the sources. When I heard that response that they were unaware, I was like, they're either gaslighting us or they're admitting to gross incompetence. Yeah, pick one. Neither are good, but you gotta pick one, guys. I hope our studios, such as our LA location, never have to fret with wildfires coming too close, only to be told to use paid time off as they seek shelter. Yeah. It's like, guys, put yourselves in our shoes. Would you be happy with the company's response? I think people are just tired of how this company can be. It's just about the money and not about their employees. They don't really show that they care when it matters most, and they have failed with this time and time again. It seems like you guys might be seeing a lot of departures from the company coming up soon, although the pandemic is still going on, so maybe not. Maybe when it's done. There's a good article from Nathan Grayson here, Kotaku. Link will be in the description if you want to read the whole thing. I mean, it's shitty, but we are in the industry bullshit, so there you go. Game artists not happy that developers selling their nearly decade-old work as NFTs. So, NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I don't want to talk about these because they're fucking stupid and they're an obvious scam, but I'm going to bring it up just to highlight some stuff that even from the game artist thing necessarily, but artists in general are seeing their work sold as NFTs. They're not getting any of that money. This is someone else ripping off the art, putting it up as an NFT and then selling it. There's already an issue with artists having their work copied, traced, straight up, just ripped off their site and it's sold on another site, printed on a t-shirt, whatever. They see none of that money, which is like stealing, right? I guess. I mean, they have the right to the art to sell it. If someone is going to sell an NFT, if they want to, it should be the person who actually owns the product. But just to point out, that's not always the case, particularly for something where you can just print screen, put it up on another host and sell it. Don't fall for this NFT shit. It's dumb and it's hurting people. Okay, V1 Interactive Disintegration developer is going to close. So this is kind of just basically fallout from the fact that Disintegration just did not do well. You may not even remember it. It was a 5v5 sci-fi kind of multiplayer thing where one character was this kind of overlord robot-y guy who flew about on like a space bike, and there were 4 other kind of standard shooty guys on the team, and it was like a 1v1 with the 2 bike guys and the 4v4 with the standard soldiery guys. Anyway, it didn't do great. PC version had its peak never went over 600. Oh boy, that's bad. V1's shut down the multiplayer servers in general, so nobody's playing it now, citing lack of interest from players. Ouch, pain. So yes, obviously the developer has to close. They're not making any money. They can't pay people I imagine closing down the servers, despite having lack of player interest, also they cost money to keep them running. So another way to stave off costs and such. But a good thing from this, from Marcus Letho, co-creator of Halo, basically they're making the closure news early. It's not going to close for a while, but it is going to close, so it's letting their employees at least have plenty of time. Well, maybe not plenty of time, it is a pandemic, but time, at least more time than most fucking developers get, to be fair, to go and look for a new position, and they'll do their best to help them out with it. Shitty, it's always shitty if like people lose their jobs, games don't do well, not every game does great. There is fallout because of this, but it is good that they're not following in the footsteps of other developers that just get shut down and then next day you've lost your job. At least they're being given the chance. So this, fuck's sake, 6 Days in Fallujah publisher U-Turn says game is inseparable from politics now. You may remember we did a story on this. Not a story. I didn't do the story. I read the internet. That's what I do. I don't do the stories. They do all the hard work. I just sit here and read and my way through it. Anyway, they said no. There's no politics in games, guys. Particularly not in this absolute fucking real life war simulation we're making. Definitely not. No politics in this game story that is told almost entirely from the perspective of the US servicemen. Not a political statement either way. They came back later to basically say, no, okay, you know what, guys, you're right. Absolutely inseparable from politics now. Our bad. Dumb assholes. But they're also trying to say that it's not like one-sided. We're going to have gameplay segments and documentary footage, and the gameplay will highlight the issues that came up in the documentary, despite most players probably holding to skip the documentary footage and just get to the game, or whatever. Won't even go into that. The game itself also won't cover the use of white phosphorus and depleted uranium munitions, which are literal war crimes used by the US forces during the battle. So even though they're trying to do the whole war is complicated kind of thing, they're also shying away from the obvious issue that came up in the 6 Days in Fallujah. The whole thing, it's just dumb. There's a little piece at the end here to point out that Konami were originally attached to publish in 2009, but they pulled out mostly because Konami just don't really make games anymore, but they also pulled out because massive controversy around it, attack criticism from military veterans and anti-war groups. So like both sides were like, do not make this game. Anyway, alright, we're gonna finish with some stupid shit. I just call it memery, but really it's just dumb shit. UK police catch escaped prisoner after he went to buy college. Fucking dumbass. So what happens is this guy was walking down the street with his friend, and he sees two police officers coming the other way, and they go whoop. They turn around and come back. The bobbies catch up with him, and they're like, "Hey, why did you just do an about face as soon as you met us? What's your deal?" And then they weren't quite that. Or at least I hope they weren't that upfront, that unsubtle about it, but maybe they were. And his friend, rather than this guy, replies, "I've come to get the new Call of Duty because I can't sit around in lockdown." Okay, digital stores are a thing, right? You could have just done that, or not bring your escaped prisoner friend with you, and you leave him back in the house. Idiot. Anyway. They ask their details, and escaped prisoner guy lashes out and attacks the police officer, which is like idiot. Incapacitated, pepper spray, and arrested, and now he's back in prison. That's some dumb shit right there. So escaped, 70-year sentence for robbery and firearms offenses. He now has an additional 13. Why didn't I highlight this? Or I did? Oh, that's because I refreshed. Okay. Anyway, he then has an additional 13 months for absconding from prison, and then another 6 months on top of that. are not on top of that consecutively for assaulting the officers. That's kind of shit, really, because this 6 months just gets absorbed. They might as well not have even had the 6 months. No, consecutively is on top. Okay, that's fine. I was thinking it was concurrent for some reason. Anyway. Did that work? I pressed the button and something happened. Anyway, that's news story for this week. Lots of dumb shit about people not being, or EA showing their true colors about, where's our cut? Where's my money? Kind of thing. I don't think they're so much concerned about the imbalance coming from people buying 1 or 2 cards for obscene amounts of money. It's more that they didn't get a cut from it, and it's highlighting that these things that they've been saying for years aren't worth any money are obviously worth money. The player base, the consumer, the customer has shown they're worth money. So it kind of pokes great big gaping holes in their whole argument against loot boxes. They have a number of issues from like gambling shit from in the US and Canada. The EU are looking at adding gambling issues for loot boxes. They're looking at making games that have loot boxes in them to be 18 plus. These are all big problems for EA, who are on track to make like shit tons, but they make so much money off the Ultimate Team shit. They can't have their moneymaker go under, so they have to come out swinging on this, even though I don't think it's as big an issue as they don't feel it's as big an issue, but they have to come out and start swinging on it. And also, where my money? Anyway, that was the news for March 18th, 14th. Hope you guys liked it or didn't like it, as the case may be, because industry bullshit, nobody really likes it. But anyway, see you next time.